So, before we start, one final check. Can everyone hear me? Everyone okay? Okay, perfect. So, welcome everyone to this first EF webinar. Today we will be speaking about warmers and how to use them in the classroom to have more engaging lessons. So this is the main aim of the webinar. So, hi everyone. Yes, great that everyone seems to be able to hear what I'm saying. Apart from Assunta, can you check that the speakers, so Sharon cannot hear. Hey, speakers, okay. I think if you cannot hear, it's an issue from your side, unfortunately, so I can't really help you with that at this point. Okay, so, oops, let's get started. So as I said, the aim of this webinar is to speak about classroom warmers, and we will be covering the best ideas to use at the start of your lesson to get students into English mode and ready for the lessons. So that will be what the webinar will be all about. Now, before we start, this is what we will be covering today. So house rules, a very quick slide about who am I, warmer questions, we're going to speak about warmers, energizers, and fillers. And I put a spelling mistake already. A list of warmers and some final feedback at the end. So as I said, there will be a Q&A section at the end. These are the house rules before we start. So turn off your phone, turn off social media, turn off any other distractions. Step 2 is grab a pen and paper and be ready to take out of notes. My aim with this webinar is for me to share ideas I have and for you to get a lot out of it, for you to be able to take these ideas, to try them out in the classroom, and to share, to give back to the people on this webinar. As I said, some of the people that you will meet on these webinars will be people that you will be working with on a day-to-day basis in a few months' time. So it's a great way for you to get ideas, for you to try these ideas, and for you to share any ideas that you might have. It's all about taking what works and always improving it. So glad to see that everyone's audio seems to be good. Just a quick bit of information about me. So my name is Kevin. I'm the academic manager at EF Malta. I started working at EF in 2009, so that's almost 11 years now. I've taught students both in Malta and abroad, and I've also managed a big team of teachers during the EF summers. If it's your first summer, or if it will be your first summer working with us, summer at EF is a crazy time. And when I say crazy, I mean that in the best possible way. There's a lot of activity happening, there's a lot of teachers, a lot of students, and that means that we need to be prepared for when the time comes, but it's also a time where the bonds and the relationships that form literally last for a lifetime. So it's a great place to be, it's a great time to be working with EF. At the moment, I'm currently in Cape Town in South Africa, so it's 6:05 over here. So it's like my third week over here, and so far it's been an amazing time. It's a great country, great people, and loving it here at the moment. Thank you for being here. As I said, I appreciate that you are here. It's a live webinar, so thank you for taking the time to be here. Let's get started. So some questions for you. So if you could write in the chat box some answers that come to mind. First question is, why should you use warmers in your class? How would you answer that? Why should you use warmers in your class? Can I get some feedback in the chat box? To break the ice, sure. To set the tone, to set the scene, okay, good. To get the students motivated for the lesson ahead, perfect. To make the students feel comfortable and safe. To learn names, good. Get students ready to work, perfect. Get students to talk and focus. Elicit language, engage, perfect. Awesome, perfect. These are my ideas. So, setting the tone. So, top points to set the scene. Yeah, okay. Kinga said to set the scene. Yes, the way that the lesson starts is usually the way the lesson continues. So by setting the scene from the very beginning, that is how the lesson will go on. And the way that you deliver your warmer and the engagement between the students in pairs, in groups, as a whole class, that really sets the tone for the rest of the class. If it's a new class, it sets the tone for the whole duration of that group. As you know, or as you will get to know, when it comes to language travel, which is this product that you will be working with, the students go to the particular country, so to Malta or to the UK, for a set period of time, whether it's 2 weeks, 3 weeks, etc. So setting the tone from the very first start is the way forward. It also eases the students into the lesson. The students sometimes are tired because they've had activities, or they had activities the night before, because they had activities earlier in the day. You can't expect the students to go from 0 to nothing immediately. So by using a warmer, you are easing them into the lesson in a more gentle way, let's say that. It also caters for the more shy students. So as you know, not all students are outspoken, not all students are extroverted students who jump at the opportunity to speak in English. It's not their first language, and being in a classroom where they might not know anyone can be a bit daunting at first. So by using a warmer, you cater for all the types of students. And it's also the first small win of the day in English. With that small win, you can then build on it. But expecting them to do this much is a bit more difficult. So start small, get that small win, get them to speak in English, and then you move on to the bigger tasks, to the more challenging tasks. Is everyone okay so far? Can I get an okay in the chat box? Perfect. All good, perfect. So, your turn. If you had to give me some names of your favorite warmers before we get into it, what would they be? What are some of your favorite warmers? Small talk, okay. Mingle between students, good. Thank you, Daniela. Thank you, Emily. Anyone else? Starting the lesson with a relatable and relevant story. Good. Thank you, Vivian. Kate, and where does association games? Good. Brainstorm vocabulary. Good. Games and little challenges. Good. Bingo. Perfect. Awesome. Taking those warmers into consideration, what would you say makes a warmer good? And what makes a warmer bad? So if we start with good, what makes a warmer good, or what makes a warmer better than other warmers? Simple and easy to understand. Perfect, I like that. You can't expect to give a big explanation about a warmer. It's the very first thing, it needs to be simple. Interactive and personal, good. Get students in the mood and feel happy, good. Engaging all students, perfect. I like that, very good. For me, these are the things that make a great warmer. Yes, someone said bad if it's too long. Good. So for me, a warmer should ideally involve a big physical movement. So one thing that I like doing is that I get the students to stand up and speak to other people. Sometimes the first instinct is for the students to want to sit down and then just go into listener mode. By getting them to stand up, you're getting compliance from the students, so getting them to do something to follow your instructions later on. That is kind of the first small win for you when it comes to getting students compliance. You can't expect students to stand up 30 minutes into a lesson when they've been sitting down for the whole first 30 minutes. So getting that physical movement going is very important. It's important that students work together. So it's about the students, it's about them working with other people for this first quick, simple task. And it also, in a way, needs to be a pattern interrupt. So these two pictures that you can see on the screen are pictures from advertisements that I believe ran on Facebook. And what is special about them is that they are pattern interrupts. So they interrupt your pattern. You are forced to look at them and kind of wonder what it's all about. And for me, a warmer needs to be, in a way, a pattern interrupt. It can't be something that the students are expecting, that they are used to. So you can't do the same warmer every single day because it will lose its power. It needs to interrupt the normal pattern of the students and get them to be present in that moment. So if it's something as simple as saying hello, that's not a good warmer. They need to be present. They need to be thinking about what they are doing, because that sets the focus for the duration of the lesson, for what comes after. Question 4. Can you think of any reason why warmers, or any other reason why warmers are important, apart from what we've already mentioned? Students get to know each other better. Good. Perfect. Get students to mix. Good. Pace the lesson. Good. Understand student personalities. Yeah. Routine, group dynamic. Good. Perfect. And one final question before we get started with the list of warmers. As a teacher, so it's about you now. What can you get from the warmers that you set up? So if I give my students, my class, a warmer, what can I get back from it as a teacher? Okay, you get to know their level. Good. Yes, I like that. Idea of personalities. Good. Understanding different learning abilities. Very good. Perfect. You get to know if students engage and who doesn't, who's shy and more dominant. Good. Dynamics, gauge the energy level. Good. Perfect. What about, so all the things you're saying are great. What about on a longer term basis? What things can you get back from warmers? Okay, understand which pace to use. Good. So you get to read the class more. Good. Creativity. Yes, good. Anything else? What level they're at? Natural language. Perfect. Good. So these are the things that for me are important when, as a teacher, I give out warmers to my students. So the first is that I learn from my warmers. There are warmers that work. There are those that don't, right? So I'm always learning. I'm always getting feedback from what the students are doing. Next time around, I will always try to change something for the better. So if today I did a warmer and it didn't really work out the way I wanted to, I will change something. If it did work out the way I wanted to, I can always try and improve it. I can always try to add something different. So getting more from the students. So it's always a testing grounds at the beginning of a lesson. One thing that is always like one of the hardest things is giving instructions. It's something that, for me, it's something that I'm always working on. And for example, even today I was shadowing a new teacher. So she was doing the lesson and then I was giving her feedback, etc. She's a very good teacher. She's a new teacher, but she's already very good. The main problem was giving instructions. So she built a good rapport with the students very quickly. She was monitoring, but giving instructions was kind of her weakest area, in the sense that the instructions were clear in her head, but verbally giving them out to the students in a kind of step 1, do this, step 2, do this, etc., was very difficult. So giving instructions, concept checking that the students have actually understood what you want them to do, and modeling, giving them an example. These are all things that we can always improve on when it comes to warmers and everything else we do in the classroom. Getting better feedback. So as you know, after each activity, we always get some feedback, and getting better quality feedback is always important. So that is always one thing that we can learn from warmers. And the aim is to become a little better each time. That is always the aim. So learning from what we do to make it even better for ourselves, to improve professionally, but to make it a better experience for the students. So if I had to ask you, what is the difference for you between a warmer, an energizer, and a filler? What would you say? Not a clue. I like the honesty. Warmer to get started, timing, warmer to start, filler to end usually, okay? Anyone else? Warmer sets the tone, gets the students to focus. Fillers are more to fill time in between activities. Energizers, keep them, okay. Yep, good. So basically, yes, you're pretty much right. Energizer to boost student focus. So an energizer can be anything that is done like during the lesson, yeah? You could just get the students to stand up, stretch, take a deep breath, and sit back down. Yeah, usually it's in the middle of the class when the energy starts to fall, exactly as you were saying, yes. A warmer is usually at the beginning. A filler is usually at the end. If you've had a plan but the students finished earlier with their final activity, with the final activate, you have a filler. My point is that all these activities that I'm about to share with you can be used in all the 3 different stages. There needs to be some adaptation, but just because I'm referring to them as warmers doesn't mean that they can't be used as an energizer or as a filler. So it's up to you to adapt and decide how you're going to use them. Okay, so before we get started, just some notes. The warmers I'm about to share with you are in no particular order. So there isn't one that's more important or that is better than the others. Also, for each warmer, I have found a picture. As much as possible, I try to use pictures that are from my personal, I call it personal warmer collection. So I have an online folder where I keep all my warmers. Some of them have some notes written on them because through years of trying and testing and experimenting, I would have printed that or written a note, uploaded it again. So it's authentic material when it comes to my kind of ideas and warmers. And the aim is that you get these ideas, that you implement them, and that you make them your own. So it's not about looking professional, it's about sharing my ideas and getting you to take those ideas, adapting them, and making them even better. Yeah? So, can I get an okay if everyone is ready to get started, just so I know that everyone is still on and listening? Okay, perfect. So, this is one that I really like, and one thing I didn't mention before is that all these warmers can be adapted for different levels. So if I'm teaching an A1 class, a beginner class, some of these words might be a bit too difficult. So I would either find a different way how to explain it, or I would try and get them to go into some vocabulary. But as we said, the idea with a warmer is to be, it's a simple activity, yeah? So when it comes to these imaginary questions where the students have to imagine a situation. For example, if you only had 24 hours to live, what would you do? If you bumped your car into another car, nobody saw it, what would you do? Would you leave your name and address? If you could date a celebrity, who would you choose? So in pairs, the students discuss these questions and they come up with situations with answers. a pair would then speak to another pair, so you would form a group, and then it could bleed into a classroom discussion. So it's a very variable thing. You could have it for a few minutes, you could have it lead into the main lesson, but it's something that gets the students to speak because the questions naturally lead themselves to a discussion. So if I ask you the first question, you would think about it, and like most people would have something to say about it. Yeah. So this is the first warmer. Pictionary, very popular. I'm sure many of you have done it. So you get students to be in groups. One person from each group comes up to you as a teacher, you show them a word, they go back to their group and draw the picture. The person that is drawing can't speak, so the person can only draw. The groups need to guess what word the person is drawing. The first group to shout out the word gets a point. Dice talking. So all you need is to take a dice, a few dice with you to class. The students are in groups and they roll the dice. Depending on which number they get, they would then speak about, in this case, I had these 6 things. So it was about emotion. So they got a 1, they would speak about what makes them angry. 2, what makes them happy. How you relax, what makes you sad. The craziest thing you've ever done. And their goals or ambitions. However, these can be changed to anything that you are speaking about in that particular week or in that particular day. If you're speaking about traveling, those could be names of countries. So you get a 3, you speak about South Africa. You get a 2, you speak about Malta. What things do you associate with that country? So it can be adapted to any topic that you are covering in class. This is one of the ones that I told you about, where I have my own notes about it. So basically, the students, it's a whole class activity. So the students are in groups, and then you tell them a category. So you give them the category of animals. The students need to, in their group, discuss 3 examples of animals or 5 examples or 7, if it's a very easy thing. And then one of them needs to come up to you and either ring a bell, or in my case, I always get them to high-five me. So I tell them, imagine that my hand is like the buzzer on a TV show. You need to high-five me before you can give an answer. Then, so one of them runs up, does the action, and they give the 5 examples or the 3 examples. The others cannot help, so they would have discussed it beforehand. What usually happens is that the students in the moment kind of either panic or they forget 1 or 2 of the things. So then I say, if you give a correct answer, so if you give all those 5 examples, your group gets 2 points. But if you don't, so if you fail to, like if it doesn't make sense in that category, or if you don't give the 3 examples, you get -5. So +2 for a correct answer, -5 for a wrong one. And that kind of, it makes it very competitive, but at the same time, it's funny because most of the teams end up with a -20 points. And that would be the winner, because the others would have, -30, -40. So it's a different way of, it's a simple way of changing an activity and making it, putting a different spin on it, if you will. Group and pair improvisation. So the students stand up and they start speaking to someone different each time for each of these. So let's say that the students have 2 minutes for the first one. One person is the parent, the other is the child. The child wants one thing, the parent wants another. So in their pair, they need to find a solution that is good for both of them. The second one, at the pearly gates. So one wants to get into heaven, the other is, yes, St. Peter. I had the chat window over there. And the other is St. Peter. So they're discussing what they've done in their life. Journalist, famous actress. So each time you're giving students 2 minutes, they have a quick conversation with a partner, and then the person changes. So find another partner, and I would board the next situation. So journalist, famous actress, have an interview. And each time they're speaking to a different person, they're listening to someone new, they're speaking to someone different, and it gets the interaction going. In a way, this is similar to the Pictionary we spoke about before, but it puts a twist on it because there are three different actions that can be performed. So there is mime, there is speaking, and there is drawing. So imagine I have prepared a list of vocabulary that we have covered this week, and next to each word, there's either an M, an S, or a D. Students come up to me, so one person from each group, they come up and they take a paper. It's the same paper for each person. The person reads the word and goes back to their group. In their group, they have to either mime the word, they have to speak the word, or they have to draw the word, depending on the letter that is on the paper. Again, the first group to guess that word gets the point. But it's quite interesting to see the different dynamics and who is willing to mime, who is willing to speak, and who is willing to draw. And in that way, you can start seeing who would go better with other students. So if someone is shy, doesn't really want to mime, it could be a problem if there are two people that don't want to mime, so they are in a way afraid of speaking or of acting publicly, and you ask them to do a presentation. So in that way, you start to picture, as we were saying before, the dynamics of the classroom. Some more miming. So you can also give them a whole sentence. You get two students working together as a team to come up to the board. You put empty lines on the board, and these students need to mime the sentence to the rest of the class. You give the instructions, you give an example, and then the students start. So they start and they're getting vocabulary from the other students. You can also say that you are timing how long it will take them. So if the first group takes, 3 minutes, you can then get two other students to come up and you tell them your job is to get the class to give us the second sentence. So two lovers who are watching a cheap TV, whatever, and beat the time of the first group. So again, these are all ideas. It's up to you how you want to use them, how you want to change them and adapt them. This is one thing that I got from a colleague over here. I haven't tried it myself, but he said that every time that he has done that, it has worked wonders. So basically on the board, this colleague writes the vocabulary from that week. So there are some words on the board. Then what he does is that he gives the definitions to the students. And the job of the students is to run to the board and put a ring, put a circle around the word that he's describing. So instead of him giving the word and the students giving the definition, he flips that on its head. He gives them the definition and they have to see which word he's describing. Run up to the board and put a circle around it. So it's a great way to recycle vocabulary and get that revised. A few more before I ask you a few questions. Running dictation. Many of you have done this. So basically what you do is that you have a text, a reading text, that is stuck on a wall in the classroom or in a corridor outside. You have a runner and you have a writer. The writer stays sitting down and writes what the runner tells them. So the runner goes from the writer to the text, back to the writer, back to the text. The runner reads the first sentence, goes back to the writer and dictates the sentence, and the writer writes it down. The runner goes back to the second sentence, remembers it, goes back to the writer, writes it down. So you could have multiple writers, you could have multiple runners. It's all about the dynamics and how you want to set it up. But it's an activity where there's a physical movement, there's speaking, there's listening, there's other background noise happening because it gets to be quite chaotic. So in a way, it's a real life situation. All the skills are being used. So there's the reading, there's the writing as well. And there's background noise, which is what real life is all about. So it's a great way for the students to be physically active and incorporate the English skills as well. One thing that many teachers haven't used is a shouting dictation. So basically the way this goes is that you get two lines in the classroom. There's line A and there's line B. So they are standing up on both sides of the classroom. Line A, line B. The people who are A have the first section, as you can see on the screen, section A. And obviously, line B have the other part. And they're working with the person in front of them. They are shouting to the person in front of them. They're part of the text. And the aim is to, with their partner, fill in the missing words. As you can see, person A needs to speak to person B to be able to fill his or her missing words. And same for person B. So if I am A, I tell B, my first word is what? And I say, what's the second word? Person B tells me R, so I write it down on my paper. So continue, what are the, then person B needs that word. So I tell them it's topics, they write it down. Again, when it's happening, when it's live, it's a bit more chaotic because there's the other students who are shouting. So they need to speak clearly. They need to listen carefully. It's a real life situation. Many students, or the majority, enjoy it. There are some that take some time to get it. And they're like, what are we doing? It's unusual, it's a pattern interrupt. But once they understand the reason why, they appreciate that it's a real life situation. Okay, so before we continue, which one do you like the most so far? Can you type that down in the chat box? Dice talking, okay. Thank you, Asunta. Running dictation, good. Dice talking, perfect. Pictionary, mime, good. Thank you, Emily. Group and pair improvisation, good. Dice, good. Dice. There's a lot of people who like the dice. Running dictation, starting dictation, Pictionary, improv, good. Improvisation, pair the gates, yeah. It's a good one. Okay, perfect. Dictation, really good. Which one are you going to try? That's my next question. Improv, good. Good. Both, perfect. All of them. I like that answer. All. And if it's possible, when are you going to try it? That's my question. I like the all answer. Which one are you going to try? All of them. ASAP. When is ASAP? I need a date. Tomorrow. Perfect. So I look forward to seeing how that goes. Next lesson tomorrow. Good. Perfect. Friday in a lesson. Good. Perfect. Okay, let's continue with a few more. Yes. I'm teaching again. Good. Let's continue with a few more warmers. So, Chinese whispers. I'm pretty sure that you know what this is, that you've done this before, but it is surprising. It's always surprising for me when I do it, how even at higher levels, the message gets jumbled up. For those that haven't done it, what you do is that, or at least the way I do it, is that I have two groups in the classroom, or more depending on the number of students, and I say a sentence or two to the first person in that group. That person then needs to whisper the sentence or the sentences to the next person. And it keeps going that way. It's a kind of relay. The last person in that group needs to write the sentence or sentences on the board. And then you compare the sentences. And I award points based on how close to the original sentence the sentence on the board is. And with that, you can also point out to the students that unless they are speaking clearly, unless they are listening carefully, the message will get jumbled up. So it kind of highlights the point of, or how important accurate communication is. Spell check warmer. So this is usually done, or at least this specific text is usually done with higher levels. But again, you can adapt it, you can make it simpler for lower level ones. So I tell my class, imagine that yesterday I bought a computer. It's a great computer, it works well, but there is one big problem with it. The spell checker doesn't work. So yesterday I was typing out this text and the spell checker wouldn't work. So I'm relying on you, on my class, to help me out with spell checking this text. I say, somehow I just wrote down the way I speak the words. So I say something and I wrote it down. So your job is to change that to the correct spelling. They work in pairs, they work in groups, and they correct that. So they say, I have a spell checker that came with my PC. And the PC is like the two words that give them the first real problems. And then they get really into it. It's a fun activity. Again, you can adapt it for the different levels. So it's up to you how you run it. It's also a great way to use the vocabulary from that week, the vocabulary that you are covering, or you introduce some new vocabulary that you're going to be using that day. For this, so in this case, it's about traveling. The way I do it is that I get the students to stand up and they go back to back. So they are not able to see their partner because they are touching their backs together. Person A gets picture A, person B gets the other picture, picture B. And their job is to find what are the, in this case, 10 differences that are there between the two pictures. So they start speaking, they start listening, and each time they find the difference, they circle it on the paper. So they start, for example, from the left. Person A says the person in my picture is waving at someone. Person B says the person in mine is actually pointing at a plane or at something. So they put a circle around the person on the left's hand. And this goes on for quite a while because, as you can see, there aren't that many big differences. There are more smaller differences. I think I did this, I think it was a couple of weeks ago, with my A2 class. They found it a bit difficult in the sense that they didn't know all the vocabulary, which then was a great opportunity to go into the particular vocabulary, since we were speaking about traveling. But when the students don't know the vocabulary, you can always get them to find a different way how to get to it. So it's a great exercise to get them to realize that there's always a way to explain something. So it improves the speaking, because they need to speak clearly. It improves the listening. They need to listen carefully. There's also the other people, again, the background noise happening, which is a real authentic situation. When they are outside of the classroom, it's never perfectly quiet. You know, there's always something happening. So it's a skill, it's a muscle that needs to be built. Some more warmers. So strange conversation starters. So I board these on the board and I tell my students you have 2 minutes to have a free-flowing conversation. Your only rule, the only thing is that you need to start with this question or with this sentence. So the funniest one always in this case is the I'm not sure about your new haircut. So I tell my partner, I'm not really sure about your haircut. The other person goes, what do you mean? I'm like, did you shave your hair? Did you color it? Did you dye it red? So they need to imagine a different situation. Or, for example, the one where the dog is barking, the first one. So it's a conversation, it's a free-flowing conversation. Some people tend to, at first, just speak for a few seconds and then finish because they can't find anything else to say. Your job is to then push them, gently, obviously, to keep on going. You explain that it's a free-flowing conversation, that there's no right or wrong ways of doing it. And it's about their English fluency, that they need to be, in a way, less in here and more expressive with their speaking. And once they understand that, so that could also be part of your instructions, they are more free-flowing, they're more in the moment, they're more present. And the conversation gets to be very free-flowing. Again, these can be adapted, can be changed according to the level, can be changed according to the topic that you are covering, or you could just take these and you could also get the students to create their own conversation starter. So there's always a way how you can extend an activity, in this case, the warmer, and look at it from different angles. So if this is a pen, in a way it's a great example because it's a pen that has, you can write in blue, you can write in green, you can write in black, you can write in red, but it's one single pen. And in a way, it's the same with these activities. There's always a different way, a different perspective, a different angle, how you can look at it. Ball throwing activity. I did this yesterday with my lower level class. So we are covering the past simple this week. So I took a ball, a tennis ball into class. Students stood up in a circle. And the first person, so that was me, I said, yesterday I ate an apple. I threw the ball to another person. The person has to repeat what I said and add a next sentence. The rule was that each time they had to continue with the next letter of the alphabet. So they had to have a verb and a noun with the next letter. So it gets progressively more difficult. By the time it's like at a letter F or at a letter G, the students start laughing because a person would forget what the verb was or would use a different noun. And they're helping each other out with this. So there's no, you sit down if you can't go with the next, you can't think of anything else. It's a fun activity. It is revising, in this case, the past simple. So there are regular verbs, there are irregular verbs. And it's all being done in a fun, in a way, in a natural way. So after that, you get some feedback. You ask them what was the verb you used with the letter E? What was the verb or what was the noun with the letter J? So it could, again, be extended in different ways depending on where you want the lesson to go. Would you rather pizza or pasta? So imagine that the students are all standing up in the middle of the class, right? So if this is the class, the students are all here. And then I ask them, would you rather have pizza or pasta? The people that want pizza go to the left. The people that want pasta go to the right. I hope that the camera hasn't flipped these. Yeah. Anyway, this is my right, this is my left. So the people that like pizza, yeah, Mark wants pizza. So the people that want pizza go to the right. The people that want pasta go to the left. And with the people in your new group, discuss why. So Mark would be explaining to his colleague, to his classmate, why he wants pizza. Someone else would be explaining to his or her classmate why they want pasta. And the examples, for example, this is a true example that I used. Would you rather have true love or $10 million? I'm curious, what's your opinion? And could you write that in the chat box? If I ask you right now, you can have true love for the rest of your life or $10 million. What would you say? Money, love, money. So 2 money, 1 love, true love, money, money, love, money, love. It's like 5-4. Both? No, you can't have both. You can't have both. We need decisive people. You're either left or right. You can't have both. Emily, you need to choose. Money. Okay. Love and money for pizza. Yes, perfect. Good. So, for example, I had a few more examples. So there was imagine, would you rather have a job you loved, but you could only get by with it, or a job you hated that made you a millionaire? So left or right. And then you discuss with the people in your group why you chose that. Would you rather be on an island for 5 years with someone? What was it? Like, would you rather be on an island for 5 years alone or with 10 people you hated? So there's a lot of discussion that can come out of that. It is also a great way to lead into what the lesson is about. So again, ideally, the warmer leads you to the next stage of the lesson. It doesn't have to. It can be just an energizer at the beginning. But if you can also link it to what the lesson is about, that's even better. Okay, so from the second part, for you, which warmer do you like the most? Don't tell me pizza. Would you rather Chinese whispers? Okay. You rather, good. Spot the difference, good. Whispers, perfect. Strange conversation as it allows for creativity, good. Yeah. Conversation starters, good. Reader runner, good. Would you rather is great for a class debate. Yes, yes, it really is, yeah. And it can be a debate as the students are standing up, because once they are focused, once they are engaged and involved in what they're discussing, they wouldn't mind standing up and continue the lesson in that way. So you don't have to have a lesson where the students are sitting down. In a way, one thing that I really like about the EF way of teaching is that we encourage that to happen. We don't want the students to sit down in a lecture kind of format. We want them to be standing up, to be engaged. And this is a great way to have it happen in a way almost accidentally, but it's part of the whole dynamic of the activity. Same question as before, which one are you going to try and when are you going to try it? All of them, somewhere when I start. Good, good, perfect. So when you try these, let me know how it goes. Anything that you do differently, anything that you do better. I'd love to hear and to get feedback from your side. So, 2 questions. Before we spoke about warmers, energizers, and fillers. If you had to take some of these warmers that we spoke about, how can you adapt them? So actually, instead of typing, I'd like to have someone come on live and discuss that. If anyone wants to speak, can you write speak in the text box and I'll unmute you so you can speak. So, Adam. Okay, Adam, could you say something?
Hello.
Hey,
Okay.
perfect. How are you, Adam?
I'm good, thanks. You?
I'm doing great, thank you. So, Adam, how would you adapt any of these warmers?
Warmers. I'd probably start with ball throwing. I usually use that anyway. I used it with vocabulary from the last lesson.
Yeah.
So whether it be a category or whatever the topic was, and revising kind of, how many words do we remember from the last lesson, and from one student to the other, and yeah, with music on, and then I do it actually. I play the music and then I stop music, and whoever has the ball, they have to contribute.
Like that. So they're even, yes, as the music is going on, they're thinking that it could be their turn at any point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
And
okay.
it's good to start with because the music's on before the students enter the classroom, so they enter into a nice environment, and then obviously before they sit down, I get them around and we start playing, so it's like a warm-up, and once we had fun playing, they can sit down and we can crack on with something more like formal.
I like that like you're setting up the environment. It's already in a good mood,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's not a flat mood they're entering. Yeah, I like that as well. Yeah, perfect. Anything else, Adam?
I really like the would rather when, for example, if we're discussing some piece of text or that we had a debate, or there's a topic which is argumentative, and obviously then you can bring this up, isolate two like sides of the debate and actually explore and make people argue to like someone already said. I think it's pretty effective because once you already know what they're passionate about, then kind of use that to have two sides.
It's about them and what they like. Of gauge, yeah. What that's about. Yeah, perfect. Thank you, Adam. Thanks. I appreciate it.
Thanks.
Thanks, man. Would anyone else like to come on? Any other ideas? Anyone else? Any other warmers that you would like to share? So again, same thing. If you would like to come on, just type speak. Yep, Sharon. Perfect. So Sharon.
Hi.
Hi. How are you, Sharon?
Hi. Fine. I like all of them, but I just wanted to say there was one where you talked about negotiation. For example, the parent and the child, the devil and the god, and so on.
Yeah.
I do a version of that which I call speed dating, where they have to think of 3 or 4 questions, not everyday questions that would be a little bit out of the ordinary. And so you put the chairs opposite each other and you give them 3 minutes. So they have to ask their questions to their partner, and the partner has to answer the questions as honestly as he or she possibly can. And then when the 3 minutes is up, you'd have to use a timer or something. Then they change to the next partner and to the next partner and to the next partner. And so everybody gets a chance to ask their questions and to answer them as well. So it's a similar sort of thing. Instead of persuading the other person or negotiating a situation, they're just exchanging information. And it gets a bit chaotic as well.
Yeah. And they're also speaking to different partners in a quick
amount.
Yes,
they're speaking to to different people.
Yeah. Perfect. Sometimes I use that in like at the end as an activate, so it's like employer employee, but I can also see how it would work at the beginning as well. Yeah. Perfect. Love that. Anything else, Sharon?
No, I think so far I love all of them.
Perfect. Okay, perfect. Thank you, Sharon. Would anyone else like to add something? Assunta. Hey, Assunta.
Hi.
Hey.
I would like, thank you for sharing all of these warmers. I cannot use all of them like I cannot use the one where the students have to move around a lot given the environment where I'm currently teaching. But I'd like to share one warmers that it's easy to do, whether like you can get your students to stand up to do it, but also you can get them to talk to the person sitting next to them or behind them, for instance. And I call it like traffic light. Basically, it's a timed vocabulary challenge. So it can be based around a topic, can be used as a warmer, like make it very short, kind of. So I give them a topic. Usually I write it on the board or show it on slides, like animals, and they have to make a list of animals, like in pairs. They have to name an animal until they run out of ideas. So obviously the higher is the level, the longer it takes. So maybe with high level students, I would do 1 or 2 big categories, but with lower level you can do more because it takes like they don't have enough vocabulary to actually go on. And it's a good way, I think, also to introduce the topic of that class, for instance.
I like that, yeah. So they're speaking to the person in front, behind, and left and right?
Yes, and you can make them having to talk with just one person, so different categories with the same person, or if you have the opportunity to make the students go around, they can change the person they are like challenging each time for each category, for instance.
Sounds good, perfect. Good, thank you. Anything else, Assunta?
Not really. I will try to adapt some of the ideas you gave us today. Some of them I will reuse, like dictionary is quite common, but I will definitely try to use the spot the difference one as a warmer for sure, and possibly the Chinese whispers as well.
Okay, perfect. Perfect. Thank you, Assunta. Looking forward to seeing you again very soon.
Yep, hopefully.
Yep, see you. Thanks. Okay, so what's the time? Any final questions before we conclude? When is the next one? I like that. So my plan is to run these once a month. I have a list of topics that I'd like to speak about, but if you have any suggestions, so Andrew will be reaching out probably tomorrow with like some feedback, etc., for you to let us know what went well, etc. So if you have any ideas on topics that you'd like to focus on, topics that you feel maybe would be more interesting for you than others, feel free to let us know. But the plan is to have one every month at the moment, okay? So guys and girls, thank you for being here. I really enjoyed this. I hope that you got a lot out of it. Let me know how it goes when you try these out. I'm really looking forward to getting some feedback from you. And I'll speak to you soon. Have a great evening if it's evening where you're at. Have a great rest of the day if it's not the evening. I'll speak to you soon.